Hello, I'm Doug, and welcome to the Krewe of Japan podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan podcast.
Welcome back to the Krewe of Japan podcast. You know, almost every podcast interview, we always start off asking our guests the same question. What do you think of when you hear New Orleans? We've gotten a wide variety of answers, of course, but one of the most common responses, especially amongst our international guests, is jazz music. The mere mention of New Orleans and jazz in the same sentence typically invokes some picturesque scene, triggering all the senses. The sound of a brass band echoing through the French Quarter, the smell of beignets and chicory coffee in the morning, and that unmistakable rhythm that seems to live in the air itself. Naturally Nolans, baby. But today's guest, she didn't just think of New Orleans. She packed up her trombone, crossed the ocean, multiple times might I add, and eventually made the Big Easy her home. Her name is Haruka Kikuchi, and she's a phenomenal jazz trombonist from Japan who's become a beloved part of the New Orleans music scene. From second lines to smoky late-night gigs, Haruka has made her mark as both a performer and a cultural bridge between Japan and the birthplace of jazz. We actually recorded this conversation back in April, and it's one of those chats that just feels like a jam session, full of stories, laughter, and moments that remind you of how music just universally brings people together. In this episode, we dive into Haruka's journey from Japan to New Orleans and how her love of jazz carried her through both worlds, including how a spark in Japan turned into a lifelong love of the jazz music genre.
She already decided to play the saxophone and want to join the brass band club. So we went to the high school concert during the spring break. I saw the high school jazz band for my first time. And I was thinking like, wow, I love this kind of music.
Some memorable musical moments throughout her blossoming career in New Orleans.
I was a lucky one. So my first gig as a local in New Orleans with a shotgun jazz band. The shotgun jazz band led by great Mara Dixon. She plays a trumpet and she is a great vocalist. So I met her for our first time on the street.
What it means to bridge two cultures through the language of music.
And I really want to do a Japan tour one day, maybe with my music friend from New Orleans, like a Shake 'em Up or some other band.
And so much more. Along the way, we'll talk about her first gigs in New Orleans, what it's like performing with legends like Kermit Ruffins and Marla Dixon, and why Japan has such a deep love for jazz that it even hosts events like Little Mardi Gras in Matsue City, in which Haruka helped establish and routinely headlines. It's a story about taking chances, following the rhythm wherever it leads, and finding home in a sound that connects people around the world. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, or maybe something a little stronger, and settle in for a journey that swings from Tokyo to Treme. Let's go. Finally learning Japanese, but worried you'll end up just mumbling arigato or konnichiwa forever? Don't worry, NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com has you covered. Classes are led by Romi Sensei, a native Japanese speaker with over 20 years of teaching experience. She's been teaching online since before it was trendy. 2014, baby! Plus, her classes are super small, 6 people max, so you'll actually get to speak and get real feedback, not just sit there quietly wondering if you're butchering the word ramen. Romi Sensei's lived in New Orleans for over 15 years, and personal friends of mine have taken her classes. They seriously rave about how fun, clear, and downright awesome she is. Why keep telling yourself, I'll start learning next week in English, when you could just say it in Japanese and actually follow through with it at the same time? Check out NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com, that's lessons with an S, and get started today. Are you new to the Krewe? Yokoso! We hope you enjoy this episode. If you like what you hear today, then you'll really love our back catalog of episodes from earlier this season and previous seasons. We've had some incredible guests, like former City Pop idol Yu Hayami talking with us about City Pop, world champion taiko drummer Takumi Kato sharing the thunderous sounds of taiko, Tokyo Lens YouTuber and musician Norm Nakamura feeling out the shamisen, and so much more. After you finish up this episode, hit that subscribe button or follow or whatever it is, and get notified when new episodes come out. Then while you wait for the new episode to drop, play catch up with the Krewe. But before you do any of that, let's dive into today's episode. All right, so we are back with a music episode this week. Jennifer, hi. How are you doing?
Hey, doing good. Doing good.
Awesome. And we have a very special guest. All of our guests are very special, but this guest is especially special. We have Haruka Kikuchi, who is a jazz trombonist here living in New Orleans. So Haruka, welcome to Crew of Japan podcast.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. So I'm so excited to talk with you.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah, definitely excited. Typically, with this podcast, we ask our guests, like, have they been to New Orleans or what they think of when they come to New Orleans? But obviously you live here. So we know you've been here. One thing we want to ask, maybe we're going to change up the question a little bit.
Yes.
What was your image of New Orleans prior to moving here? And did it live up to your expectations once you did move to New Orleans?
So I moved to New Orleans end of the 2013, almost 11 years ago. Oh my God. But before I moved to New Orleans, I visited so many times, like 6 or 7 times. Also, I joined the French Quarter Jazz Festival as a Japanese guest artist. So French Quarter Festival used to have an international stage, and they invite some jazz band from all over the world, like from France, from Italy, from England, from Japan. And my very first time to visit New Orleans was in 2009, I think, during the Mardi Gras time. I had a lot of image about New Orleans because it's a long story, but when I was in high school, I started to play the jazz and to play the trombone same time after I met my first jazz teacher. He plays banjo. His name is Ken Aoki, great banjo player, by the way. And he told me so many things, like he plays a banjo and he plays jazz, and jazz was born in New Orleans, and New Orleans was blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, I want to go to New Orleans someday, like a high school me, you know. So then I also joined the Waseda University's New Orleans Jazz Club. It's like a after school club and kind of the New Orleans Jazz Lover Society. So the founder was a really great old clarinet player who really loves George Lewis. George Lewis used to play as a preservation hall, or he is a jazz star during the revival era. The society had so many old records about the New Orleans jazz from beginning to contemporary brass band stuff and jazz stuff. So then I listening all of the stuff, and I really had some New Orleans image before I visit to New Orleans. But my very, very first experience in New Orleans was so amazing and so different from the Japanese experience. And I was so shocked. It's a good way, but I was so shocked, especially during the Mardi Gras time.
Right.
Oh my goodness. You know.
I was talking with one of the other guys from Japan Society, and he was always saying too, it's like when you come to New Orleans during Mardi Gras, it's just a different feel of New Orleans than the rest of the year. So it's great to come during Mardi Gras, but it's also good to come at a different time again. Like, don't make Mardi Gras your only New Orleans experience, because it's so different, because the city's kind of dressed up.
It's dressed up, and then like the atmosphere and the air is so different.
Right.
And like the excitement's there, whereas like it may not feel that way all the time.
Yeah, you know, I really love to play the music and also singing. But my mom always told me, oh, you don't have to sing on the street from your station to the home. So your voice is so loud, blah, blah, blah. But oh my God, the people in New Orleans, everywhere in New Orleans, people dancing in the street, on the street, and singing, and they really enjoy their life with music, and so much different.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I also didn't know when I studied abroad in Tokyo back in 2005 and 6. But my dorm was right by Waseda, and I had a bunch of friends that went to
cool.
Waseda. So I didn't realize that there was a New Orleans jazz club there. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, it's almost only and oldest New Orleans jazz society in Japan.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Did not know that. Let's go back to, you had mentioned your teacher, Ken Aoki. Was that your first exposure to music, and did that spark your interest in music, or did you have some experiences prior to that? Where did your music love come from originally?
Yeah, my first instrument was not trombone, was a piano. When I was a very little, like 3 years old or 4 years old, so my mom sent me to the piano lesson. Not my choice, but my mom's choice. So because she loves classical music, and one of her dream is playing the piano. So I'm a first child of her, and she just sent to me a lesson. So then I play the classical music for a long time, not only the piano, but also violin, and joined the orchestra for 3 years. I already mentioned, but when I was a high school, one of my best friend, she already decided to play the saxophone and want to join the brass band club. So we went to the high school concert during the spring break. So I saw the high school jazz band for my first time. And I was thinking like, wow, I love this kind of music. I had no idea about the jazz or anything, but I love this music. Sounds like a Disneyland music or some music, like an old musical situation. So, and then I asked the banjo player who taught jazz to the student at that time, and he gave me so much idea about the jazz.
So why trombone?
I think trombone is really cool. Can you imagine the trombone instrument? Trombone has a really long slide. It's a different from any other instrument. So,
Right.
and I really like old jazz style, old New Orleans jazz style. And the trombone has a very unique style in New Orleans. It's called the tailgate style. So using a lot of slide and glow, playing really old blues or jazz. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting to me. So then with the slide action is also cool. And the trombone player always a front line as a brass band. So like I just fall in love with the trombone.
Yeah, I look back. I played clarinet growing up. Well, I played piano first, and then clarinet after, and then stopped in high school at some point. Was transitioning from piano really difficult for you? Like, I mean, obviously learning a whole new instrument, but using your fingers and kind of coordinating hand-eye coordination, sliding and then having to control your lips is like totally different. It's like a whole new experience altogether. So was it really difficult to transition?
Before I started to play the trombone, I also play the violin.
Oh, that's right.
So, the string instrument a little similar to me for playing the trombone, because trombone also like the position that only slide, but it's like a strings with a position to me.
I see that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, that's
Nice.
cool. Yeah, I didn't really I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way either. But as she was talking about it, I was like, that actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I always say piano is like the best foundation for when you learn music, because you
Music,
really
yeah,
learn
it
everything,
is.
and then
It
you
really
can
is.
branch off wherever else after. So
Yeah. Well, my question for you, Haruka.
Yes.
Growing up in Japan, we know that your exposure to jazz was through the school, but were there any particular like artists or experiences that shaped your passion for the genre?
Particular artists about the New Orleans jazz or
Yeah, or just jazz in particular. I mean, because I'm sure, like everyone else, as you can see in my background, I have a bunch of manga. Once you get your hands on some kind of thing that you really love, you just go dive in.
When I was in high school, I learning and playing more about the Dixieland jazz, like Dixieland jazz is like a more, how can I say it? It's like a more stage situation. You know what I mean? So we sometimes use Dixieland jazz and the New Orleans jazz for the different music way. So then the New Orleans jazz is more music like a living traditional. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I joined the New Orleans Jazz Society at Waseda University. They also had a couple video archives. So when I saw the second line video for my first time, I really, really like how people dancing and how people enjoy and or celebrate someone's life. So we have a jazz funeral. That gave me a most of huge impact of the music with living life.
Yeah. Well, you're not just staying on the stage, right? You're moving around, you're doing stuff while performing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I also had an experience like a jazz gig or jazz concert in Japan. Oh my God, every audience is so bright. Maybe it's a good way, but, it's no different with classical music concert and jazz concert. So everybody is so
Yeah.
bright. But in New Orleans, oh my God, sometimes the musician says, shut up. But the people dancing, screaming so hard. They just enjoy their life. So then actually, I love that culture too.
Yeah, it's almost like the people and the musicians are
Mhm.
like playing together. in
Yeah,
a
right.
sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You said you had already visited New Orleans, you said 5 or 6 times before you actually moved here. What inspired you to say, you know what, actually, I want to move there? Like, was there a certain event or something that happened where you said, enough with the trips and coming back home, like, I want to make New Orleans my home?
Mhm.
What was that moment, or when did you decide on that in your mind? And, was it really intimidating at the time?
Yeah, I already was thinking I want to move to New Orleans someday, but I was not sure. So maybe someday or not happen. I just visit New Orleans regularly and learning something and back to Japan and playing some New Orleans jazz in Japan. But since the New Orleans music and the culture is like a living traditional, so I really want to see more. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so not as a visitor, but I want to spend more time with locals and I want to learn what's a secret, their life.
Right.
Mhm. And then I decided to move to New Orleans.
There's only so much you can do when you're visiting, right? That you're there
Mhm.
for a week or 2 weeks or whatever it may be, but you're always going home. Whereas when you're here, you can kind of get to know people and then have a little jam session here and there just randomly during the week,
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you did move here, though, what was that transition like for you as an individual, like an adult, but also as a musician?
This is great. I moved to New Orleans like 11, 12 years ago. So I also feeling it's might be the last chance to me. I was 26 or 27 years old then. So now I feel really different. So I can do anything from now. But at that time, I really want to do some life change, like a big life change by 30 years old. So, and yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I think that's always good.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
set goals for
Yeah.
yourself,
Mhm.
right?
And how did you first get involved in the local jazz scene here in New Orleans? Were there any like challenges and surprising along the way when trying to like, I guess, get gigs or even like just performing?
I was a lucky one. So my first gig as a local in New Orleans with a shotgun jazz band. The shotgun jazz band led by great Mara Dixon. She plays a trumpet and she is a great vocalist. But I met her for our first time on the street. So my husband, he is a piano player and he is also from Japan. And I and my husband did a basking together on the street. But my husband, his style is like more straight head jazz or bebop style. So then my style is like a more old jazz. I really like a traditional New Orleans jazz. Then we played together one traditional jazz song by my request on the street. Then Mara was listening what we playing, and she gave me a business card. So you should call me. So then she and
Wow.
me, and yeah, I just jumped. I was really lucky. So then I started my career from French Main Street. So then hung out with different traditional jazz groups.
That's awesome. It just takes one time, right? Just one time.
Yeah. Especially Frenchman Street. That's such a scene that I don't even think like tourists even like realize. That's a great.
When you did move here, did you have like connections that you developed from when you came for French Quarter Fest or all those other performances that you reached out to?
I already knew couple New Orleans musicians, but I didn't expect to play with them immediately. So I just respect some musicians. So I also contact with them, but I went to their gig and then learning the tunes and sitting couple times. So then, yeah, I also play with them a couple times, and now they are really my good, the mentor and the musician friends and the musician dude.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I mean, with New Orleans music, as we mentioned earlier, it's so unique. And, New Orleans itself is so deeply rooted in like music culture. It's embedded, right?
Yeah. Also New Orleans music scene is such a community situation, So I'm really lucky to jump into this beautiful community.
Yeah, yeah. So, how has living here and playing here in New Orleans influenced your style? Like, how did it change from maybe the first few performances you did when you came here to now? Like, have you noticed your style and your approach to jazz change more and more over time based off of like playing with certain artists or people that you've studied under?
My favorite style of music seems like never changed. So my most favorite music genre is a New Orleans traditional jazz always. But I'm also learning another music scene because New Orleans musician can play everything, So the New Orleans has such a great jazz band, funk band, rock and roll, brass band, some Balkan music or, any other stuff. So then I'm really learning new things every single day. But my basic style not changed. Maybe my style has been changed, like my language. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It just
but
it naturally grows as time passes. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And Haruka, what is a typical day like for a musician in New Orleans?
I don't know. It depends on the person, but like yesterday was like my daily routine is also dependent on kids' schedule. So now I have
Yeah.
2 kids. First son is a kindergarten, and the second son is a 15 months old, still baby.
Mhm.
But yeah, like yesterday was a really good day to me. So we woke up and couple morning routine and drop off my kids to the school, then come back to home, clean up, laundry, then listening to the tune because I had a gig at September last night with
Okay.
some brass band. So it was really fun gig at September. So, but before my gig, I pick up my son and my baby start his music class at the Tiger Man's Den by Voivode. So
Oh.
yeah,
Very
and
cute.
yeah, my first son also joins the art class as a Tiger Man Zen, so then I just drop off the kids, some after school activities, so then back to home, eat some dinner, bedtime. Then after kids sleeping, my husband was off last night, so then I'm going to the gig, so then I just night hung out, playing some music with my friends, so then it was really nice day to me, like yesterday.
But it's just like every day is different, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying being the musician and being the mom life. So, and I never go to the school in here. So I had no idea about the school situation in the US. And I'm also learning about the school system and how the education situation in here. So it's that they also gave me a new idea through my kids' experience.
Would you say for performances, do you like set yourself goals of like how many performances you play a week to like try and keep on a schedule, or do you space them out pretty far?
I used to take all of offers, like every single offers, but now I cannot take a late night gig because of the kids situation. I used to play until 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., but no, not now. So
Nope.
Not cutting it.
yeah, but luckily I will play the French Quarter Festival with 5 different groups, and also play as a preservation hall every Fridays. And some Saturdays we shake 'em up jazz band. It's an all-female jazz band play as a Spotted Cat on Frenchman Street. And every Sunday morning I have a church gig. And every Mondays as a DBA with Secret Six, it's a King Oliver, Louis Armstrong tribute band. So I'm really enjoying my,
Yeah, you have a
freelance.
routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know if this will like raise any like trouble for you, but like, do you have a favorite spot where you love to perform? If it'll give you trouble, you don't have to say it. I was just asking because I would imagine playing for a festival is a completely different atmosphere than playing at a small intimate place.
Yeah. I don't know. Since I really love to watch people dancing, so I always love to play with dancers situation like a swing dance party or something. People dance everywhere, but DBA has a really nice dance floor, and sometimes the Always Lounge has a Sunday night, always lunch has a swing dance party. So it's really lovely. And also the preservation hall or a jazz museum, like a kids friendly jazz venue is also lovely.
That's awesome.
Jazz museum is really nice.
Mhm.
Their setup is awesome. My son does piano with Kanako Brooks.
Oh, cool.
And he goes and has his recital there every May and December. So we get to
cool,
go, and
cool.
it's a really nice museum. So anyone who's listening that has never been, definitely go check it out. And obviously they have shows and performances there. So check those out too. So you mentioned that you've played with a lot of musicians here in New Orleans. You've played with, I don't know all the names, but I do know Kervin Ruffins. I know that name, obviously. Are there any collaborations or performances that you have found to be especially meaningful to you? Like you mentioned when you ran into, was it Mara? Was their name?
Yeah,
on Frenchman, or no, Frenchman, Bourbon? Frenchman?
No, Frenchman.
Frenchman.
Yeah, Frenchman.
Sorry, my brain's all over the place. But, obviously that was a really meaningful experience for you. You didn't perform together right then and there, but were there any other kind of collaborations that you had that you really found meant something to you big time as a moment, like a landmark performance in your career?
Based on my jazz fest schedules, I'm really lucky to join the original Tuxedo Jazz Band. It's the oldest jazz band in the world, led by great Gerard French. He is a great drummer from the great musical family. And also I play Fridays as a preservation hall, usually with the great Mark Broad, the trumpet player. He also sometimes play with Harry Connick Jr. Band. So it's a really great trumpet player. And Shake 'em Up Jazz Band. Shake 'em Up Jazz Band is a really fun band. Also, Mara Dixon, the trumpet player from Shotgun Jazz Band, joined the Shake 'em Up. So me, Mara, Chloe, Phil Lanzo, she's a current player. And we have a washboard player. Her name is Dizzy Ingeloni. And Julie Scheck-Snyder, bass player, and the guitar player, Maury Reeves. So Shake 'em Up Jazz Band will go to Italy this summer for join the Umbria Jazz Festival.
Oh, wow. Are you going to go with them? Nice. That's exciting.
Yes.
That is exciting. Well, to bring our jazz conversation back over to the Japan side of things, I wanted to ask you, because we get it when we interview Japanese people for the podcast. They always talk about how jazz is what they think of when we ask, what do you think when we say New Orleans? And they really embrace jazz. And there are many Japanese musicians that have been well known in the genre. And I wanted to ask you, why do you think jazz resonates so strongly with Japanese audiences?
I feel like Japan has a unique history with jazz music since long time ago. Did you hear about the jazz cafe in Japan? We call it the jazz kissa.
I think I've heard of them. Are you talking about the ones where it's like a live performance, or you go and just sit and listen on like a headphones or something, like a listening cafe?
Sometimes a headphone maybe, but the jazz cafe, the old jazz cafe, oh my God. I had no idea about how the jazz cafe right now, but back to 60s or 70s, so many jazz cafe in Japan everywhere. So they have a really nice audio system, and they playing the record, not the live music, but the records. So that everybody listening the John Coltrane's or Charlie Parker or Miles Davis, and everybody so quiet, and listening to jazz with cup of coffee, that jazz cafe culture was so huge. So that's why the old people really love jazz. I think it's like a unique jazz culture in Japan, because I never see that no speaking, just only listening to the old record and the cafe edition. So. But yeah, that's why some jazz listener really love to listen to the music and digs the history, or, like an otaku situation, but you know what I mean? So
yeah.
So do you think when they come to New Orleans, like if they visit New Orleans as a visitor and they go to a jazz performance, are they expecting to, Are they really
Oh man,
aware?
culture shock there.
Yeah.
The culture shock of going and being used to sitting and very good,
Yeah.
versus like you were saying, like
Party.
living
Yeah.
a party where people are dancing and having fun. Like, is that something that you've seen? Like when you had friends maybe that came to visit and see that maybe a jazz performance for the first time in person?
Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe they shocked. So I'm also surprised. I go to Japan once a year now sometimes, and I sometimes play the music in Tokyo or in Osaka once a year. I was shocked. People were so quiet in Japan now, So we play the music and shh, but oh my god, nobody talking during the song. So you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's a huge difference than nobody dancing. Like, I know some people who dance a swing dance, like a swing jazz dance or a Lindy Hop in Japan too. But my husband, he's from Japan, but he plays a straight hit jazz a lot. So he never play with dancers or he never sees people dancing with his music before he moved to New Orleans.
So that was a shock for him.
Mm-hmm.
So you had mentioned you've been back to Japan
Mm-hmm.
now every year, but a bunch of times, really playing venues like you said in Tokyo and Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
You even played Little Mardi Gras in Matsue. I know
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was there in 2019, you did a performance. You did a second line around like the
Mm-hmm.
ceremony,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I heard that you did the same thing this
Yep,
year as
she
well.
did. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, Little Mardi Gras, I was one of the founder. It's not only my idea, but we made that event and the festival before I moved to New Orleans. So
Oh, in Matsue?
yeah, in Matsue. So yeah, I
Oh,
helped
wow.
create that event at the very beginning. So that's why. So I still have some good connection with Matsue City. So
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's cool.
Mhm.
So when you go back to visit, people know who you are.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my god! And the very first year we did a Matsue Little Mardi Gras and the Matsue New Orleans Festival was like a 2011 or 12. I forgot exactly year, but around that time. So I met so much student, like little kids playing the marching band or concert band. So and then, oh my god, they grown up. I see already the second generation as the Matsue. It's amazing.
So do you think that when those students, they hear you play,
Mm-hmm.
how when you played classical music and everything, but then you saw that jazz band play,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you're having that impact on them too? Like they're in a kind of strict marching band. I remember like it was jazz, but like it's different, right? It's a different feel.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any of the students that maybe you saw maybe 10, 15 years ago? Have you noticed that they've kind of transitioned their musical style being exposed to your
Mm-hmm.
version of jazz?
Yeah, it's really lovely. So I saw some girls wearing the Mardi Gras colors, bow tie or some costume. So maybe they don't understand well about what is a Mardi Gras or what is a New Orleans, but since their sister city is a New Orleans, so maybe I hope it's one of the, I don't know how to say, like one of the hook or one of the chance to think what's a New Orleans, what's a Mardi Gras. When I was a kid, why I wearing the purple, green, gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they're interested about a little bit about Mardi Gras or New Orleans or jazz, it should be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in Japan, where were you originally from? Was it Tokyo?
I'm from near Tokyo, so my college was in Tokyo.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when you go back home to perform, do you have a lot of friends or family that come and see you and they come and see your performances?
Yeah.
How do they react to it?
Last couple years, my main reason to go to Japan is not a performance. It's like a vacation situation and then see my family since my hometown is in Japan. So I used to book more gigs in Japan, but now I have a kids and all of my family over there. So I spend more time with my family in Japan, but it's really good to see my musician friends or who loves the music or who interesting about the New Orleans music, blah, blah, blah. So it's really nice to reunion with people.
Yeah, and kind of
Yeah.
relax too,
Mhm,
right?
Yeah, don't have to worry about getting somewhere on time, lugging
Uh-huh.
things around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I really want to do a Japan tour one day. maybe with my music friend from New Orleans, like shake him up or some
that would
other
be
band.
so cool. Yeah,
that'd
because
be
I
awesome.
rented a house in Kyoto this past summer, and
Mm-hmm.
the owner of the house, he picked me up at the station, and he loves jazz. When
Oh,
he was like, "You're from
yay!
New Orleans," and he's like, "Oh, do you know this artist? This artist?" I'm like,
Oh,
"Whoa,
wow!
wait, dude, don't just throw names at me." But yeah, I definitely, every time I encounter someone in Japan, they seem to
Mm-hmm.
really love New Orleans and like jazz music. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would go really well if you wish to do that in the
Mm-hmm.
future.
Oh yeah, and I went to Taiwan for my first time after Matsui trip last year because the two musicians from Taiwan, they also was an exchange student as a UNO, so they studied jazz in New Orleans and back
Oh,
to
okay.
Taiwan, and now they have a New Orleans jazz band in Taiwan. And I was a guest with that band, so and it was my first time to visit any other Asian country besides Japan. So
Oh,
but it was a really
nice.
lovely moment. So, and Taiwanese jazz scene is also new, and so many young musicians interesting about the New Orleans. It was really great. So,
That's awesome.
That's a great lead into our next question
mm-hmm.
because we were going to ask about music being an international language that can
Oh,
bridge cultures, not just
mm-hmm,
Japan and New Orleans,
mm-hmm,
but also Taiwan, apparently, you know.
mm-hmm,
So for you, though, as a Japanese jazz musician here, living here in New Orleans, how
mm-hmm.
do you see your role in being a bridge or a musical ambassador between these two musical cultures that are both here in New Orleans, but in Japan and now Taiwan?
I don't know. I feel like I'm only one example, about being a musician in New Orleans. I know a lot of musician friends from other country as well, but more example may help to the next generation. You know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
don't have not so much Japanese musician in New Orleans. We have some for sure, but not so many like New York City or any other big city. So more example may give more idea to the next generation. So I'm really happy to be one of the example. Hey, the Haruka moved to New Orleans after her college and she plays New Orleans jazz, blah, blah, blah. And really happy to one of the example to the next generation.
Yeah, for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a big part of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize sometimes too how big you're just, you feel like, yeah, I'm just there. I play music. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of kids will hear that and they're like, man, that's awesome. Like, I want to play trombone,
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
And that might change. That might be the moment that changes the trajectory of their life. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really, really, really cool what you're doing though.
Mm-hmm.
So before we wrap up, I know this kind of flew by. It was really quick. But before we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity. This probably will air sometime early summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to give you an opportunity to let people know, about maybe some of the events that you have on your schedule that are regularly standing events, but maybe some other events that you have coming up, in the summer. Like you mentioned, you're going to go to Italy.
Oh, yeah.
So, or also where people can find you on like social media or like your
Uh-huh.
website if they're interested in learning more about you and following you.
Oh, thank you. Once again, my name is Haruka Kikuchi. The spell is Haruka. Last name is Kikuchi. And yeah, I have a website. It's Harobone, HAROMBONE.com. It's like a Haruka and a trombone mix up.
Nice.
Yeah, Harobone. So everything is Harobone, like Instagram, Facebook. So you can find
Oh,
me
great.
easily, or you just put Japanese jazz nerd in New Orleans or something. Anyway, yeah, the Shake 'em Up Jazz Band will play Umbria Jazz Festival in July, but I also will go to Japan this July. So I'm not sure where I will perform or which date yet. But yeah, you can find me or you can send me a message or you can say hi or you can click a like button to my social media if you want. So, and in New Orleans, I play local venue every week. So every different place. But yeah, please find me somewhere.
Will do. And we'll make sure when we release the episode, we
Mm-hmm.
will put links out to your social media and to your website in the actual like description of the episode. So
Mm-hmm.
people who are listening, you can go
Mm-hmm.
and go into that description. Everything will be linked out there for you.
Thank you so much.
They can find you pretty easy. But have fun on your world tour. Italy and then Japan.
Oh my God, yeah. I will go to Japan first, and then I will go to Italy from Japan, then back to Japan, then back to New Orleans. It's like a...
Yeah, that sounds tiring.
Yeah.
Just when your body's getting used to the time in one country, you're moving to the next. So.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And this was a lot of fun. I know we have a really big jazz scene here in New Orleans, and we want to share some of our extraordinary Japanese jazz musicians' live stories with our listeners, because I think that's one thing that we really haven't done up until this point, but I really think we should in this season and future episodes. So thank you for joining us. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's a wrap on our conversation with the wonderful Haruka Kikuchi. Thank you so much for tuning into the Crew of Japan podcast, and a big thank you to Haruka herself for joining us for this episode. It's always inspiring to hear how someone can move halfway around the world, dive right into the heartbeat of the city, and not only fit in, but make the sound of that city even richer. Haruka's story reminds us that music isn't just about the notes and rhythm. It's about connection, community, and finding your place in the groove of all the things. Now, since recording this interview back in April, Haruka's had a few unexpected turns in her journey. A family medical emergency shifted some of the summer plans mentioned during the episode. But in true New Orleans spirit, she and her family are meeting those challenges with strength, grace, and that same unshakable resilience that runs through her music. However, if you'd like to lend a little bit of support and help lift her up like her music lifts up the community, we'll be including a GoFundMe link in the show notes. In the meantime, you can catch Haruka performing around New Orleans, whether it's a Frenchman Street night, a local festival stage, or maybe even just a second line down the block. Check out her social media and website to find out more information about upcoming performances. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a rating and review, share the episode with a friend who loves jazz, and help spread the rhythm far and wide. Every single one of those 5-star ratings and reviews helps others discover Crew of Japan and join our global crew. Any and all support is incredibly appreciated. Got a love for New Orleans jazz music or have some info about an upcoming show? Share with us on social media. Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X. Just search Crew of Japan podcast to stay in the loop with future episodes, upcoming Japan Society events, and Japan-related content. That's Crew of Japan, KREWEOFJAPAN. Or maybe you want to reach out to us directly. Send us an email at crewofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. But that's it for today. Until next time. Looking to start your own podcast and don't know what platform to use? Tell me about it. When we started the Crew of Japan podcast, we tried a bunch of the big name recording platforms, but always came back to the one we're still currently using to this day, Zencastr. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. In addition to its high audio and video quality for podcast production, Zencastr provides a full suite of production tools to record, produce, and publish studio quality content from the comfort of your home. Just log in through your browser and start recording. It's that simple. For us, we simply send out links to our guests and they join the lobby. But before you know it, it's all done and you have your studio quality audio and up to 4K video right there ready for you, right when you finish. The best part is having their multi-layered backups to ensure that your recordings are in the highest quality, regardless of anyone's internet connection stability. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcasts in one place and distribute to all the major destinations. It's really that easy. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code Crew of Japan, KREWEOFJAPAN, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's your time to share your story.